Welcome to the Daily Drop on Pro Ball Daily. I'm Mike.
And I'm Tara. And holy smokes, Mike, we've got some absolute fireworks across the globe today. From a jaw-dropping 7-goal thriller in La Liga to a complete demolition in the NBA and an even bigger upset across the pond in the EPL. If you thought yesterday was wild, you haven't seen anything yet.
You are not kidding, Tara. We're talking about a night where the nets were bulging, the upsets were real, and some teams made some serious statements, while others looked like they were still in preseason. We've got so much to get into, so let's not waste another second. Let's kick things off on the pitch, heading over to Spain for La Liga.
All right, La Liga, always a good place to start. And what a couple of matches we had. Let's talk about the big one first. Real Madrid topping Atletico Madrid 3-2. That's a massive result in a derby game.
Massive is an understatement, Tara. That's a huge victory for Real Madrid, especially on the road against a rival like Atletico. Coming out with a 3-2 win, showing that grit and determination, it really reinforces their position as one of the top two in the league. They're sitting second in our power index at 66.6 points, still a fair bit behind Barcelona, but a win like that against your city rivals, that builds serious momentum.
It absolutely does. And it's a gut punch for Atletico, who are down at 5th in the power index. You lose a close derby game like that, it makes you question where your defense is, because traditionally, they're so solid at the back. To concede 3 to Real, that's concerning.
Totally. And speaking of concerns, or maybe just pure chaos, we had Alaves and Celta Vigo combined for 7 goals in a 4-3 thriller. That's our La Liga stat of the day, and for good reason. 7 goals in one game, Tara? That's almost unheard of in La Liga, which is usually known for its tactical, often lower-scoring affairs.
My word, that sounds like a video game score. What happened to the defensing there? Seriously, you see a 4-3 and you immediately wonder if someone forgot to show up. But honestly, as a neutral fan, those are the games you live for. Just pure, unadulterated attacking football. End-to-end stuff. Alaves clearly wanted it more, taking the full 3 points in a barn burner.
Absolutely. Pure entertainment. And then you have Barcelona, our number 1 in the power index, sitting pretty at 75.8 points. They just did what champions do, grind out a 1-0 away win against Rayo Vallecano. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't a 7-goal fest, but it was 3 crucial points.
Exactly. That's the mark of a truly dominant team. They don't always have to be spectacular. They just need to be effective. And Barcelona, with that 1-0, just keeps their lead over Real Madrid. It's a marathon, not a sprint, and they're pacing themselves beautifully. Getafe and Valencia also holding strong in the top 5, but that Barcelona-Real Madrid rivalry continues to be the main story.
Moving stateside now, let's talk NBA, because what a night in the paint and beyond the arc. The New York Knicks, currently 4th in our NBA Power Index at a strong 71 points, absolutely torched the Washington Wizards, dropping an insane 145 points in a 32-point blowout win.
Oh my goodness, 145 points? That's not just a blowout, Mike. That's a statement. That's our NBA stat of the day for a reason. The Knicks have been on an upward trajectory, but to put up that kind of offensive performance against any NBA team, even the Wizards, is just incredible. It shows they're clicking on all cylinders right now, and their offense is looking absolutely lethal.
Lethal is the word. It wasn't just a good shooting night. It was a dominant display from start to finish. They're proving they belong in that top tier, right behind teams like the San Antonio Spurs, Charlotte Hornets, and Oklahoma City Thunder in our power index. You have to wonder if this kind of offensive explosion will propel them even higher.
It certainly gives them a strong case. But let's talk about some of these trends because they're fascinating. The Atlanta Hawks, for example, had a rough February, going 55% against their season baseline. But then, in March, they completely flipped the script, hitting 90% and surging by almost 19 points against their baseline. What do you make of that kind of turnaround?
That, Tara, is the definition of a Jekyll and Hyde team, but in a good way for March. It means they figured something out. Maybe a key player returned from injury, maybe they adjusted their offensive or defensive schemes, or maybe it was just a mental switch. But a swing like that, nearly a 35-point difference in performance from one month to the next, tells me they're a dangerous team heading into the playoffs. If March Hawks show up, they could upset some higher seeds.
Agreed. The Hawks are definitely a team to watch now. On the flip side, we have the Brooklyn Nets, who went from bad to worse. Their February saw them drop 11% below their season baseline. That's a significant slump.
And not ideal for a team trying to find its identity. That kind of inconsistency, especially a downward trend, can be detrimental. It suggests internal issues or a lack of cohesion. If they don't fix it soon, they're going to be fighting for every inch just to stay relevant. It's hard to make a deep playoff run when you have those kinds of valleys in your season.
Absolutely. Other scores saw Minnesota beat Boston, Portland fall to Denver, and Phoenix defeat Toronto, and then a good high-scoring affair with Sacramento beating Brooklyn 126-122. But clearly, the Knicks' 145-point explosion is the headline.
Let's switch gears and go to the beautiful game right here in North America, the MLS. Our power index has New York City FC at the top, followed by Real Salt Lake and LAFC. But the headlines today were all about goals, goals, goals.
You can say that again, Mike. Our MLS stat of the day is Montreal and Cincinnati combining for 7 goals in a 4-3 thriller. Another 4-3? Are we seeing a pattern here? Seriously, what is it with defenses going on vacation this week? That's just wild.
I know, right? Maybe they're all practicing their penalty kicks and forgetting about actual defending. But credit to both teams for putting on an absolute show. For the fans, that's an incredible experience. But I have to ask, as a coach, are you happy with a win like that, knowing you conceded 3 goals?
Oh, as a coach, you're absolutely tearing your hair out after a game like that, even with the win. You take the points, of course, but you're immediately looking at the tape to figure out why your backline looked like a sieve. But what about NYCFC, sitting pretty at number 1 in the power index? They actually lost to Miami 3-2. That's an upset, plain and simple.
A big upset. When the number 1 team goes down to a non-ranked opponent, it raises eyebrows. It shows that in the MLS, on any given day, anyone can beat anyone, especially when there's a 3-2 scoreline. That tells me Miami came to play, and NYCFC probably didn't have their best defensive outing. It's a wake-up call for the league leaders for sure.
Definitely. And then we had a few draws. Seattle and Minnesota 0-0, LA Galaxy and Portland 1-1, and Real Salt Lake and San Diego 2-2. A mixed bag of results, but that Montreal-Cincinnati game and the NYCFC upset are the big stories.
From the pitch to the ice, let's hit the NHL. Another goal fest to talk about here, Tara. Our NHL stat of the day comes from Anaheim and Buffalo, who combined for 11 goals in a wild 6-5 game. Buffalo, our number 2 team in the power index, losing to Anaheim, that's quite the surprise.
An 11-goal game? That's a hockey fan's dream, Mike. But for Buffalo, sitting at 72.4 points and second only to the Carolina Hurricanes in our power index, that's a tough pill to swallow. Giving up 6 goals, even in a high-scoring affair against a team like Anaheim, it shows a chink in their armor. Are they playing too open? Is their goaltending struggling?
That's the question. While it's exciting for fans, if you're trying to be a top contender, you can't be giving up 6 goals a night. You need that defensive solidity. They need to tighten up, especially with teams like the Hurricanes, Islanders, and Senators all right there in the top 5. The Islanders, for example, just had a tight 1-0 win over Columbus. That's the kind of defensive effort that wins championships.
Absolutely. That 1-0 win for the Islanders, who are 3rd in our power index, shows a completely different philosophy. Grinding out a win, relying on stellar goaltending and solid defense. That's championship hockey right there. It's a contrast to Buffalo's wild shootout.
Speaking of different philosophies, let's look at some NHL trends. The Boston Bruins had an incredible January, performing 25.5% above their season baseline. But then March hits, and they're down 10.8% below their baseline. What happened there?
That's a massive swing, Mike. January Bruins looked like an unbeatable force. Then March Bruins looked like they hit a wall. It could be injuries, fatigue from that hot streak, or maybe other teams just figured them out. Whatever it is, that kind of inconsistency can derail a season. If they don't find that January magic again, they're in trouble.
And the Colorado Avalanche had the opposite experience, going 11% below their baseline in January. They started slow. These trends really show the ebb and flow of an 82-game season. It's not just about who's hot now, but who can sustain it.
Exactly. Other games saw Calgary beat Tampa Bay, Nashville edge out Chicago, and Vegas defeat Dallas. But that 11-goal game and those trend swings are what we're talking about today.
All right, let's cross the pond again to the English Premier League, where our power index has Arsenal leading the pack with an impressive 90.8 points, followed by Everton at 76.9. But the big story today, Tara, has to be the absolute stunning upset.
You are not kidding, Mike. Nottingham Forest with a shocking 3-0 demolition of Tottenham? This is a massive, massive result. Tottenham were flying high, pushing for European spots, and then they go and get absolutely thrashed by a team fighting in the bottom half. That's an upset that sends shockwaves through the league.
Massive is the right word. To go 3-0 against a team of Tottenham's quality, Forest played out of their skins. That's a statement win for them, and it's a huge blow to Tottenham's aspirations. It just shows the unpredictable nature of the Premier League. One week you're a hero, the next you're left scratching your head.
Absolutely. And it throws a wrench into the top 4 race. Every point matters, and to drop 3 like that and to do it in such a convincing fashion for the opponent, it's just a huge morale hit. Meanwhile, Arsenal just keeps doing Arsenal things, staying at the top of the power index, showing that consistency that Forest showed in one game, Arsenal shows week in and week out.
That's why they're at 90.8 points. That's a dominant number. And Everton, sitting at number 2, that's an interesting one. They've been a bit of a surprise package this season, showing real grit. They didn't play today, but they're still up there.
They've certainly earned their spot, but that Forest result is definitely the talk of the town. We also saw Aston Villa beat West Ham 2-0, and Sunderland took a 2-1 win over Newcastle. Solid results, but nothing compared to that Forest shocker.
Let's transition to college basketball, NCAA, where Duke Blue Devils lead our power index at a dominant 84.2 points, followed closely by Arizona. But our stat of the day is all about domination.
It certainly is, Mike. The Iowa State Cyclones win 67% of their games by 15 or more points. That's not just winning, that's consistently crushing opponents. And they put that dominance on full display today, absolutely blowing out Kentucky 82-63.
A statement win for Iowa State over a blue blood program like Kentucky.